Welcome to Critical Culture. This is All Hands on Deck. Our response to Trump's manufactured crisis will define a generation and echo through history. So what exactly is Trump's manufactured crisis? I'm talking about ICE, the National Guard, and Antifa. First, ICE. I'm all for enforcement of immigration laws with a focus on the worst of the worst. This is what we were told. But 70% of the people swept up in this immigration enforcement have no record whatsoever. Many of these people are doing things the right way. They're following processes that Trump has now decided to change. They're showing up for court, their cases are dropped, and ICE is waiting for them in the hall. They're people that have lived here for decades, contributing to society, making neighbors, and are part of the fabric of our nation. They are raiding apartment buildings, military-style raids with Black Hawk helicopters in the middle of the night, pulling people out of their beds, zip-tying children, separating them by skin color into U-Hauls. U.S. citizens lived in this building, and even if they weren't all U.S. citizens, there is no justification for that level of response. This does not conform to our laws about people's rights. There's no justification for this. There was no one with biological weapons inside the building. There was no one with tactical nukes inside the building. On the same topic of ICE, allowing ICE officers to cover their faces and not identify themselves is unacceptable. It makes law enforcement less safe and makes us less safe. There have been more cases of people committing crimes while pretending to be ICE this year than the last 4 presidential terms combined. Anybody could dress up like they were ICE and get away with whatever they want. And frankly, I think the administration is okay with that. We need to push our lawmakers to address this. And now we've got the National Guard. The administration is saying we need the National Guard because ICE agents are in danger. People are resisting implementing the laws. Let's think a little bit about the previous deployments in recent history. Ferguson, 2014, the National Guard was deployed to restore peace and order in the response to the shooting of Michael Brown and the riots that resulted from that. Minneapolis, 2020, the National Guard was deployed in response to the riots after George Floyd's murder. Kenosha, 2020, the National Guard was deployed in response to the riots of the shooting of Jacob Blake. You can't hide the level of destruction that would justify calling up the National Guard. In all 3 of these cases, you could see it on the nightly news. You could see huge mobs of people. You could see storefronts with their windows shattered in. You could see the destruction. You could see, okay, yeah, we need the National Guard to come in and take care of this. In all 3 of those cases, they were, not that it matters, but there were Democratic governors who called up the National Guard and were asking for assistance. That's how it's supposed to be done. This is a states' rights issue. It's a local issue. It's not a national issue for the national government to figure out. For the administration to bring an armed force from one state into another requires extraordinary proof and justification, and it's not there. Where is the mass destruction? Where is the level of chaos that requires bringing in an armed force from one state into another? I can tell you another time where there were armed forces from one state going into another, and that was during the Civil War. We're not there. We don't want to go there. This should not be happening. And the third part is the talk about Antifa. You know it. There is no Antifa. This is not an organization you join. There's no secret handshake. There's no telegraph channels where secret messages are being relayed saying this is what we are going to do to overthrow the United States. There is no leader. There are no funding sources. This is not a dangerous ideology that we need to contain. This is people looking at what our government is doing and saying, this looks, smells, walks like fascism, and we are opposed to these actions, and we are going to exercise our First Amendment rights to free speech, to peacefully assemble, to say we're not going to stand for this. We are going to stand up and let other people know, look at this. This is bad. Come join us in making sure we don't go there. This is not going to be the United States' next war on terrorism, war on drugs, war on something you can't contain, an ideology that you can just say, oh, that's Antifa. Everything I don't like is Antifa. This is simply the administration looking to turn the power of the state against the people whose political viewpoints they disagree with. And if you need to use the power of the state and military to counter a viewpoint you don't agree with, you don't have a case. This is a democracy. We talk about things. We elect people. Those people we elect still have to follow the rules. And this is not following the rules. Very specifically, Kristi Noem stating that they would go after this dangerous Antifa like they go after narco traffickers in international waters. You know what that's about, right? Namely, they don't need proof of who they're going after or what they were doing. You're just going to go in and blow them up. You're going to kill them, and you're going to have to trust that they did it for the right reasons, because they're not going to tell you why. And the people that they're going against don't get any level of due process. This is the Trump administration's manufactured crisis. And this is actually part of a 4-step plan. Robert Reich laid this out very clearly. The first step has been for the Department of Homeland Security to deploy ICE agents to use aggressive tactics in targeted cities. First step has been for the DHS to deploy ICE agents to use aggressive tactics in targeted cities. Democratic cities. Cities where he knew there would be more resistance. He knew the cities would respond. So the second step is for the aggressive tactics to provoke demonstrations. Once there were demonstrations, Trump would exaggerate the scale and severity of them. And he's doing that. You see him talking about Portland like it's some war-ravaged hellscape. But you can't find any video showing that's true. You see a couple of dozen people standing close to an ICE facility protesting, chanting, dancing, nothing scary. The local leaders, the police are saying that's not happening here. We've got this all under control. The governor of the state is saying this is under control. There's nothing for the National Guard to do here. You see news organizations broadcasting everything, and there's nothing approaching the level where you need a militarized force of National Guard from another state to come in and save anybody from anything. Kudos to all the protesters in Chicago and Portland and elsewhere that are doing things the right way and staying nonviolent, because once there's any hint of violence, once he can get people to believe that there's violence, federalized National Guard troops come in to control the demonstrators, which makes things even worse, right? ICE are no longer able to contain it by pepper spraying people in the face while they're standing there talking to them. Now we're going to provoke more violence. And if you can get, again, any shred of violent response to these National Guard troops from other states, you can maybe get enough public support to invoke the Insurrection Act. And he's already saying this is an insurrection. This isn't right. I'm not able to do anything I want with zero resistance without people protesting. That's an insurrection. Let me tell you, people protesting is not an insurrection. People standing in the street and maybe like preventing people from driving through is not an insurrection. Some of that, even the stuff that's illegal, even if that part, taking the street and preventing traffic from coming through, that may be illegal. That may be an act that gets you in jail, but that is not an insurrection. An insurrection entails a massive plot, an organized group of people planning to overthrow the government. And that is not happening. Because if he can invoke the Insurrection Act, now you've got federalized National Guard to do whatever he wants, wherever he wants, right? So we're talking about even federalizing the midterms, going after political opponents with federal militia. We've got federal troops guarding ballot boxes, and they're going to bring all those ballot boxes to the federal government, and they're going to count the ballots for us because they can't trust anyone because it's an insurrection. Which, hearkening back to his election claims of this is the last time you'll ever need to vote. This is the last time we need to worry about it. And these are extraordinary actions involving militarized force against U.S. citizens, violating rights that do not have the extraordinary proof behind them to justify them. And this is a real thing that he's trying to do in conjunction with the people around him. I mean, a lot of this is laid out in Project 2025. I mean, people aren't just piecing this together based off of what they think. They are looking at the actions of the administration and the words of the administration as the receipts to prove, yep, they're really implementing Project 2025. You know, that plan that he said he didn't know anything about, and now he's cheering. At the beginning of his term, if people were like, hey, National Guard troops from Texas are going to be in Chicago? No way. Like, I don't really like Trump, but I don't think he can make that happen. Guess where we're at today? These extraordinary times require an extraordinary nonviolent response, and the next opportunity is No King's Day, Saturday, October 18th. I'm optimistic it's going to be the biggest protest in U.S. history. The current biggest was over 5 million people on the first No King's Day. I think it's going to be the biggest because the administration has been doing some really ridiculous things lately. I know a lot of people that were kind of motivated back then are even more motivated now. I know people that were maybe, they knew it was bad, but they weren't motivated to get involved. I just see that there's more energy going into this. There's more pressure coming from the administration. There's more people that feel the pressure on them saying, we know this is it. We need to do something. This is our job. This is our time. This is our calling in this moment. I'm glad to see all the people sharing their outrage online. My main concern with it is people think that that's enough. They did their part, right? I shared something. I liked something. I commented positively on something. I shouted down somebody that posted something negative online. And there's raising awareness as part of it, but that is not enough. And I don't want anyone to believe that that's all we need to do to get through this. We absolutely need to show up in person in huge numbers. And most importantly, we need to be committed to being nonviolent in these situations. The Trump administration would like nothing more than to be able to use chaos at protests as a pretense to justify claiming an insurrection. Like I said, they're already saying an insurrection is underway when a mayor of Chicago and a governor of Illinois say they don't need help from the National Guard. They're saying that's an insurrection and these people should be put in jail. People are going to see, and people are going to see what's going on. I see videos online now, and every time you see a video and someone's showing something, you look all around and there's like 10, 15 other people recording it. And that's exactly what we need to do. We need to be nonviolent. We need to do it right, and we need to record it. We need to share it. We need to show the receipts. People will see. People have a nose for justice when they see things like that. They know when someone is being nonviolent and exercising their rights and they're being victimized. There is immense power in that. If it looks like there's bad stuff going on both sides, they're not going to know what to do. They're probably not going to know how to figure it out. They're probably not going to get engaged. So nonviolence is the action that we can do that helps stop Trump's plans. It is also the thing we can do to prove to onlookers that we are morally in the right in this case. So there's other things that can be done. Again, I strongly encourage showing up at these protests. There's other groups organizing activities on economic impact actions. There's a group called Blackout the System. I haven't looked into it too thoroughly. I came across it on Reddit, haven't had a chance to get back. Check it out. See if it fits your ability to get involved. We saw how effective economic pressure was on Disney when they canceled Kimmel. Economic pressure is huge in our society. Learn about general strikes and other tactics. There's a guide to nonviolent resistance in the show notes. There's a lot of other ways to get involved, and we are likely going to need an all of the above type of strategy. Not everyone will be able to participate in every type of activity. Find what you can participate in, make it happen, spread the news to your friends, offline as well as online. I am optimistic because courts are pushing back. As much as Trump is making this case to try and have National Guard troops in Portland, he still doesn't, to the best of my knowledge, as of this recording. Judges are shutting things down. Likewise, in Chicago, judges have shut things down. So judges are stepping up and doing their part. Sooner or later, hopefully we can get something through the legislature. I'm not sure we've got enough people there to make a huge difference with some of these things, but judges are definitely there, and they also see what's going on. They're watching the news. They're going to likely have opinions, hopefully based on just constitutionality of these things. They may feel the pressure. They may understand the scene a little better if they're seeing us showing up in numbers. The quote unquote captains of industry, right? The CEOs that are making these decisions. Let's cave on Kimmel and we'll see what people do. People showed up. They put economic pressure on Disney. Disney stepped up. If companies in general feel economic pressure from some of what's going on, if it's an impact negatively on the economy, that will look poorly on the Trump administration. All of these things will add up and make a difference. I'm optimistic, right? On some level, it's big. It feels kind of heavy. I'm 50 years old. Within my lifetime, there is nothing that has felt this heavy, this real, this dangerous to our democracy in America. When I talk to older people, I do a lot of volunteering and organizing with people that were like in their early 20s during the civil rights movement, or when Kent State happened, when students there got shot by the National Guard. And this probably this is real because it's right here and right now, but they've been through stuff like this before. Throughout history, stuff like this happens. It's horrible. It's real. It is a danger, but societies have navigated through this before, so we can do this too. The judges standing up is a good sign. Some of these generals standing up and making statements there. I think it was a brigadier general in Portland that said, if my unit gets called up to the scene of a protest, we are going to be there to make sure the protesters are protected from anyone within ICE that may want to harm them, right? And I'm not here to just completely bash ICE. I'm sure there's some people within the organization that are good. It's a job to do, but what is going on now is completely out of hand. It's been fully pumped full of money, a bunch of new hires that have probably been vetted by standards that a normal person wouldn't agree are reasonable or good, right? I wonder how many of these people that were pardoned for attacking the Capitol on January 6th are now wearing face masks and working for ICE, doing the kind of thing they'd love to do for free anyway. So there is reason for hope. That hope needs to be watered with action. So I'm asking you today to make a commitment to get involved offline as well as online. My primary recommendation, again, is the No Kings Rally on October 18th. You've got time to do your homework about how to do it safely. You've got time to find a friend to bring with you. If that's not for you, do some research about what else you can do. Ask around. Share what you find with friends. You can do some of this research at the rally. The rally is good. It's good to show up in person. It's also good to take that energy to make connections there and take that energy and do other actions offline. Find out about other things you can do and link up with like-minded people. Because I tell you one thing, if you've got anxiety, any anxiety about what's going on here, finding people that are like-minded, that are involved in action, that is your number one cure. Action is a cure to anxiety. And you can find other ways to stay active by going to the rally. So again, there's going to be some stuff I put in the show notes, some links to some stuff by Robert Reich, some literature from the Albert Einstein Institute about nonviolent action, some links about safety and protesting and some of the other options, all that good stuff. If you have anything I did not include, please put it in the comments. If you draw my attention to it, I can add it to the description so more people can benefit from it. It's great that we're showing up online. We need to do more in this moment. This is a critical time in this moment, 1 year away from our next election, right when they're trying to really make a push for the Insurrection Act and militarize the streets of America. This administration is ramping up the nonsense, and we need to match that with a nonviolent response. Show up in person for No King's Day on October 18th. Make a plan, bring a friend, be safe, and be 100% committed to nonviolence. There's a saying where people are like, I didn't think it could happen here. Well, guess what? It could happen here. It is happening here right now. It's up to us to respond. It's go time, America. Thanks for listening, and stay safe out there.